Welcome to the Light Lupus and I, where I am your host, Salavio Deloach. And I first want to thank you for joining me today here on the podcast. And I know that it's been a minute since we last came together here on this platform. And I think the last time that we were here, I had the opportunity to interview Dr. Abby, which was an amazing opportunity. Our last season, we interviewed quite a few physicians, and it was an absolute amazing experience. And we had a couple more physicians and some clinical representatives that were scheduled, but our calendars or their rounds, we just could not get them to align. But nevertheless, we took some time off, and during that time, it kind of became a quiet season, if you will. So if this is your first time joining us or me here on this platform, I want to take the time to welcome you and give you a little bit of information. So, here on the podcast, of course, the name is The Light, Lupus and I. And so, the light represents our relationship with God. Lupus, of course, is the chronic journey that many of us have to navigate in life. And I, of course, is going to be me. Everything that life throws my way that I am released to share with you. And today we are kind of in what I like to call a little light talk. So, gonna be before you breathe, but I want to share just a little bit of things that I've learned during that quiet season. And so, you might be wondering why the mic went silent, right? And so, as I mentioned, we had a list of guests that were scheduled on our calendar, some physicians, clinical representatives, and we were ready to talk about antibiotics and biopsies. We'd already done all of the pre calls and things of that nature, but life happens, right? And so we have 9 to 5 schedules, clinical rounds. For me, operating with the nonprofit, and then my own job, right? And so things just would not align, and that was okay. Um, at first, I felt like I was failing, just to be transparent with you there. Like I said, I had all of these things planned, but in my plans, I didn't make space for the fact that I wasn't dealing with um, just regular people. I had to figure out ways to fit into their schedules. And with my own schedule, it just didn't work out. And that's okay. Because sometimes when we feel like we have failed at a thing, it gives us a little extra juice, right? Juice to, if you will, pause. Doesn't make sense. But then in my life, it makes perfect sense. So I took the time on that pause to create a devotional. And if you follow me on social media, I created the devotional called Time Alone with God. And Time Alone with God originated with my pastor. And, it came through a Bible study that she did within the church, but I created my own version of it because in this season I wanted to hear with God, and I knew that I needed time alone. And that session that she did, or that Bible study that she did, those words, time alone with God, just resonated with me in a deep way. And so I took some time and I set my table with my Bible in my pad, and I literally went through that devotional. It was a 30-day devotional. And I shared it on social media, so if anybody wanted to join me on that journey, they were more than welcome to. But on that journey, what God did in that quiet time, in that time alone with Him, it did something amazing for me personally. And it wasn't about the social media factor of it. As I began the journey, I realized how powerful it was for me. And so I wanted to give other people the opportunity to have their own journey and not have to figure out what that is. So, oftentimes when we sit down and we prepare to do a Bible study, and we don't know where to start. So I kind of wanted to help people on that journey to not have to worry about where to start, but they did their own, study. It wasn't predicated on me. I just provided the scripture and some thoughts to kind of get them going. But in that quiet time, he did some restoration, of my perspective of this podcast, right? And so first and foremost, I had to be still. I had to be still so I could hear. And being still, that scripture, Psalms 46, I believe 46 and 10. Be still and know that I am God. And at first, stopping the podcast and being still, I thought about, oh man, this might look like laziness, or it was difficult. And then I had the moment to be reminded, if you will, and reframe my perspective that I didn't start the podcast because I was trying to focus on production. I started the podcast out of an obedience. My own journey, I have come to realize it motivates and it encourages other people because several people counted me out, right? And so to know that you are listening to someone that other people have counted out, it does something for people because they want to see the underdog win. And I most definitely felt like the underdog, the black sheep, all of the things, right? I felt that way sitting on a couch, life passing you by. Everybody's life is going on to be whatever it's going to be. And here we are starting a podcast. And that's kind of where the podcast started, was sharing my journey with other people who might have felt the same exact way that I did. And that didn't include me having guests, right? It didn't necessarily include that. It didn't definitely having the opportunity to interview some of the doctors, or the doctors, period. They all are amazing in their own right. And so for me to have access to those doctors, to be able to speak with them one on one, many of them having the opportunity to meet them in person, and them thinking enough of me to say, yeah, they would be on my podcast. Amazing, right? Things that I did not even imagine would be possible. Honestly, never even thought about it. I never thought about interviewing doctors. My thoughts were to interview patients, if anything, people that was going through the same thing that I was going through. If I ever, went down that path, those were the people that I might have interviewed. But doctors, never thought about it. But originally, it was just me behind a mic talking and sharing my story. That was what this podcast was supposed to be all about. Literally, the light, lupus, and I. Lupus kind of came to that space of other people being diagnosed with lupus, giving them a platform to talk about their chronic journey so that we could motivate people. But originally, it was just God, the fact that I had been diagnosed with lupus, and my journey, and all of the crazy toss and turns and twists that life gave me. That's all. And so, oftentimes we have these dreams, and these dreams require us to, when they begin to form, we set calendars because we want to have some form of consistency and things of that nature. But what happens really when the calendar crash, or clash rather? And what happens when your body crashes? That calendar goes out the window, right? But just because that calendar goes out of the window, or you find yourself in a delayed situation, like that delay, it doesn't delete the destiny. Because I had a delay doesn't mean that I had to stop, or that I couldn't restart the podcast, right? And so here we are with me restarting the podcast, being an example yet again. My life, I try to live to make sure that I encourage other people. You get knocked down, get back up, right? Don't let your dreams die. Don't let people tell you what you can or cannot do. If God has given you an assignment, if He's given you a dream, it is something that can be done. But you have to remember that you're required to wait on Him. Like He's going to give the instruction. So when you find yourself in a situation where the calendar has clashed with somebody else's calendar, that might not be the full journey. Like you started on the right path. That was something that He wanted you to do, and you did what was required of you. And the other people that you might have had on the calendar doesn't mean that you aren't supposed to interview them. Maybe it's just not time, right? Just because a thing doesn't happen when you want it to doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. And that's been my life's story. I have had things that I wanted to happen and they did not happen when I wanted to happen. But when they happened, my God, when they happened in their season that they were supposed to happen in, they were way more amazing and greater than anything that I could have ever thought of. The way the foundation happened. I want to do the foundation 10 years before it actually became, right? But when it became, we were in the midst of a pandemic. And I was able to use the things that I was doing in preparation that nobody knew anything about. The people that I linked up with, I had the opportunity to use those things as resources to help other warriors. It was mind blowing the way those things transpired, the access that God had given me in my preparation season to meet people so that when it was time for the foundation to become, I was a credible source for warriors that I'd already been living a life in front of. And so when I reached out to them with this opportunity to have a listening session, they believed me and they joined on that listening session. And the listening session wasn't me, right? It was me being granted access to an organization that was able to provide that information from a scientific perspective and tell them or encourage them of some things that they could do to protect them during their season because we were unaware of um what what that was, right? In the midst of the pandemic, we didn't know what we were dealing with. And so to be able to have a connection with a company that can give them that information, mind blowing. Again, not something I expected. I made the connection at another event. When I want to know a thing, I'm going to reach out to the person. And just simply me reaching out after that event made a connection. I had no clue that I would have the opportunity to use that connection during such a critical time for people that were dealing with something that I was dealing with as well. And I didn't know my way forward. And if I didn't know my way forward, certainly they didn't know their way forward. So just live, trust the dream. Don't put, I'm not going to say don't put the dream off because the dream is given in a season and it becomes in another season, which requires us to give ourselves grace. We're required to give ourselves grace, just like, we're often encouraged to give other people grace. We have to give ourselves grace. We can't always do it all. We oftentimes need help from other people. And for anybody that knows me, transparency, asking for help is just not something that I really jive with, right? But I'm getting better because I haven't given up on myself and I haven't given up on the people that are around me. So I ask people for help that I know are going to help me, right? So that's one of those moments of things that you have to learn. Everybody don't want to help you. And that's okay that everybody don't want to help you because God will send his ordained helpers to help you. And those people, when they help you, they give you the same energy, the same everything that you give. They don't shortchange you at all. But in those situations where you got somebody that don't really want to help you, they gonna have to do it. And so like you end up having to do it anyway. So stick with the people that God has sent to you. And just trust that as you find yourself in another situation where you need something that those people don't have the capacity to help you with, God will send you those people. Just trust the timing. It might not be happening when you want it to. My own like witness right here. It might not be happening when you want it to or how you want it to happen, but if you trust God, he will provide. I know him as a provider in more ways than one. More ways than one. So don't let the dream die. If the dream doesn't happen when you want it to happen, just don't give up on it. Don't give up on it. And at the same time, don't try to force it to happen. Because when you force the dream to happen, you might not have the full dream. You might not have what you need to make that dream what it's supposed to be. But if you wait on God's direction, when it's time for you to release the dream to the public or to the people, you'll know. You'll know. And it's not going to be somebody telling you, right? It's not going to be somebody telling you. It's going to be the Holy Spirit leading you and guiding you. But again, back to my space. Like the mic going to go quiet sometimes. But when the mic goes quiet, you have to know. You have to respect the silence and pause and go and listen. Yes, it's going to feel like life has passed you by. But listen, when life passes you by, you find yourself right where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be. So let it. Let it. Let everybody else have their season. They can't have your season. It's yours. Whatever gifts God gave you, whatever thing you're supposed to do, it don't matter who else do it. No, be quiet, right? Because people might try to go and do what you talk to them about. So be quiet. Reality. Be quiet. Move in silence. But when it's time for you to move, it doesn't matter who else has done that thing before you. They ain't gonna never be able to do it like you do it. You got that secret sauce. And they gonna buy from other people. Don't worry about it. Who's supposed to buy from you? Who's supposed to listen to you? Who's supposed to rock with you? That's what it's gonna be. Ride it. Ride it because God has a way of blowing people's mind. Just ride it. Because you not riding by yourself. You riding and you rocking with God. And he's always, if your purpose is to make his name great and you surrender who you are for all of who he is, and you ask him to lead you and guide you, and you follow the leading and you follow the guiding, God will blow your mind. He will, I promise you, he will blow your mind. But you got to trust him. You got to make sure that you can stay humble enough. Even when all of the great things happen, you still got to be able to stay humble. And humble don't mean that you act like it didn't happen. No, I'm not telling you to act like the thing didn't happen. I'm not telling you not to boast in God because you know that God did it. It wasn't, he used you. It was God. So don't let nobody tell you or make you feel like you can't celebrate your wins either. Because God did that for you. Celebrate God. Celebrate the work of God that he's doing in and through your life. Don't let nobody make you feel ashamed because God chose to use your life. They might not like the fact that he chose to use your life. Tell them to take that up with God. That ain't got nothing to do with you. Truth, transparency. So listen, we're going to circle this thing out, but I want to hear from y'all, right? So I, of course, am on social media, and I want to invite you to message me, DM me, send me an email. Feel free to. I want to hear from you. If there is something that you want me to cover on my podcast, if you have a desire to be on the podcast, if you got a question that you want me to answer on the podcast, use one of the options that's on the screen and reach out to me and let me know some of the things that you want to hear about. And if it's in my wheelhouse, I'll share. But yeah, so I encourage you all to just, trust the quiet season. But in the quiet season, make sure that you remain faithful. Faithful to God, faithful to the work that God has assigned to you. While it may look like you being still and you ain't moving to other people, long as you know your truth. Don't get caught up in the hype of what other people say or what other people think. You know your truth. And so you live in your truth, no matter what. Because God made you you, and you are uniquely you. Can't nobody else do you like you can do. And if you forfeit on doing you still, can't nobody else do you like you do you. So do you, right? And so you have been listening. You have been listening to The Light, Lupus, and I, where I am your host, Salathiel Deloach. You be blessed.